No, I think it's red. Oh, we live already.
Yep.
Haya will do our introduction. Is there music, Haya?
That's up to
You can sing.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we start?
Go for it.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. Our speaker tonight is Rebbetzin Hindel Swerdlov, a renowned teacher and author. Hindel grew up in Los Angeles, USA, and has lived in Jerusalem for the past 24 years with her husband and 7 children. So full of life, wisdom, and joy, her vibrant personality will undoubtedly inspire confidence in all of us. Hindel speaks about the deepest type of confidence, the self-confidence that's born of the soul and its connection to God. When we make it less about ourselves and more about our God-given mission, we are empowered to do difficult things and to maximize our soul's potential. If you have ever struggled in pushing yourself to do something outside of your comfort zone, either because you thought you might be good at it, or God might want you to try it, or maybe you could make a difference, then I think this interview will give you profound strength and courage in continuing to push that comfort zone just a little bit more and fully stepping into your soul's greatness. Hindel will be interviewed by our very own specialized South African TV and radio host, Lana Africa Bredenkamp. Over to you.
Hi, thanks for that wonderful introduction.
Yeah,
it's really
who wrote
great
that?
I know, she was so you have 2 renowned guests, you heard it. But you know what, most of the time when people mention someone's name, you either take to Google and you learn more about them, or on a platform like tonight, you get to learn more about them and hear what they're about. And before I even ask our guest to give a short introduction of who she is, I want to tell you, Hindel, that I am very inspired by what I see online about you. I'm inspired by the interviews that you've done with other women around things that have happened in your own life and how you can inspire so many other people through your stories. And I think from all the people that we know, together with Chaya, who did our introduction, you're probably the best person to talk about confidence. And that is why I guess Rabbi asked you to be in this webinar tonight and to host this session with us. Also, throughout tonight, you'll be able to ask questions. If you're watching this after our live, please post a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And hopefully you can find some inspiration, not just for yourself, but also for that of your family and your children. Please welcome Hindel.
Thank you. Hi. Wow. Such words of praise. Can we just stay right here?
The first thing I want to ask is, how is Maya Notes? How is...
Maya Note is a dream. And I know you know that I came to Maya Note because of a lack of self-confidence, and I was pushed into that confidence mode. And Rivka Marga brought me on board, and it's been over 4 years, and it's a gift every day. And I'm lucky to be a part of all these women's lives that come through, post-college to learn more about their heritage and Judaism and all about godliness. And when they get inspired, I'm on fire. And lucky me, because we don't live every day with enthusiasm like we're on fire. So I'm happy to be there.
You've already said so much that makes me want to ask you 100 questions. First of all, if you have never heard of Maya Note is in Israel. So Hindel at the moment is in Jerusalem and I'm in Gauteng, South Africa. How is Israel, before we even get to your interview? From where you are you okay?
So, I wondered if you would ask me this question, because my heartbeat starts to escalate and accelerate. Let's just say I'm really all right. I know without a doubt that Israel is actually the safest place in the world. Our Rebbe has told us so. And, God has put himself in the book and written it so that we are the chosen nation in the land of Israel. So I'm safe, but, I don't want to tell my students. I teach at another school. It's called Har Shmuel, and you have to drive through some Arab villages. And I was terrified to drive there yesterday. I mean, I really was scared. I don't want to be a statistic for a lynching. And I'm not saying that, everybody's bad or everybody's good, but I'm living on the ground day to day, and I have to incorporate that into my children's lives, my lives, and reality. So it's not fun. It's a little intense right now.
Well, I can tell you this, that in the intensity of a pandemic, in the intensity of a war in people's hearts, South Africa and the WhatsApp groups that I'm part of, we're saying Tehillim for Israel at the moment. And We really pray that your safety will be your safety, and that in platforms like this, we'll still be able to learn. And while there might be chaos in some people's lives, we are going to create so much clarity tonight. And that's what I'm excited about. So thank you so much for your time. Confidence. And that's one of the things that I can see when we even just chatting to you while you're sitting in Israel, insights on yourself and from your families. So the thing is, people are down. People are after lockdown, and now in South Africa, we are getting ready for a third wave. To give you an idea, some of the news channels at the moment, because I'm on radio, so some of the news channels say the third wave isn't real. And then the health minister comes on and goes, okay, well, I think it is real. And then people go, oh, the third wave. And now today, Gauteng's numbers have exceeded, whereas at some stage, Kimberley was like the hub. So people are very like, is it not? Is it the numbers? Yeah. We don't know what to believe. In this interesting time, how, when the world is so down, do we say, hey, but you can be confident, you know? Our family is in Israel and all over the world, and they are struggling, and we are going, hey, we're going to build confidence. Is confidence at this stage our priority?
It really is. I mean, I know I should pause for a second before I answer, but I'm just going to say it really is. It's a priority, because I'd like to give the people of Israel, for the most part, let's generalize a tiny bit, they've got an extra dose of confidence than most people around the world. I feel it over here. And we're proud of our army to take care of us. We have pride in ourselves. And like you've seen the news lately, as soon as something goes wrong, the Jews are like, no, we are not going to take this. We are going to dance it through. There have been Torah dedications, like literally, we're a few days before the giving of the Torah and the receiving of the Torah, and people are dancing in the streets with new Torahs. And it's like, yes, that's right. This is why we're here. And this is what we're seeing. Like, it's a very hard time around the world. I feel like we're coming out of, Corona, but of course we have no idea. But at least in our minds, we're like, we are not going to live like this anymore. Everyone, many people, I'm going to say many because I have some anti-vaxxers around me. You don't want to start up here. Many people have, we're already moving forward in that end. So then, on a personal level, so many people have lost loved ones, they've lost jobs, they've lost a part of themselves that they have to recapture. I know even for me socially, it's like, oh, you sure you want to go out at night? Like, I'm used to pajamas in my house and the people around me. And all of a sudden we have to open up ourselves and be like, oh, where were you a year and a half ago? Because we're back. So you have to like time honor yourself and self-respect. And without the confidence of like knowing a little bit of who you are and some self-awareness, you're going to have a hard time bouncing up. So yes, confidence is key.
Immediately, I start thinking of your story, because something tells me we're not born confident. I actually looked at my kids tonight. They just got out of the bath, and instead of being like we think our children will be, walk in an orderly line, like something out of a movie, and grab their pajamas from the drawer. No, they were dancing around, jumping on the bed like monkeys. And yeah, exactly. And I looked at them and I thought to myself, I wonder where you learned confidence from, but would you do this in front of other people? You would do this in front of Daddy and I, but would you do this in front of other people? So a part of me thinks that we're not born this way. You weren't born a confident teacher of Hasidus in a amazing school where you can do executive learning and learn Torah and about yourself and get married and do cool things. You were never that teacher. You had a lot that happened in your own life that perhaps robbed you of confidence, and that also gave you confidence to where you are today.
Oh, you're just going in for the kill, Alana. I'm anyways like jittery and nervous and emotional because let's start with, we can say a prayer because the mom of the 6-year-old boy that was just killed in Sderot, she just tried to take her life. So politics aside, our reality takes, give me a second. Our reality is real, and we kind of are born with a certain personality. I don't doubt it. I was definitely born Kindle Swordlove, and that same me just had to grow up with the experiences that came at me. And I do believe that there's a lot of nature versus nurture, although there is the exception to the rules. And I was given a lot of love growing up. I was given a lot of confidence growing up, and we were not a home with a lot of money. We were home with, my mom died when I was 2.5, and then my dad got remarried to my stepmom who raised us. So I have another mother. She's not the bio mom, we call her. So she's just Ima, but not just an Ima. So, we really were brought up with like, we're all very important. And both my mom and my dad gave us this. And so from a very young age, whether we were excellent in school or the most beautiful or not, we were like fantastic. And, we'd be like, oh, stop, but no, he didn't stop, not our whole lives. And we still get that. We still feel that love. And I think that no matter what comes our way, because of how we were raised and how we were, brought into life, we could really lean on that a lot. I know it doesn't say much for people that didn't have a strong background, but there's a lot of people in our lives, or hopefully everyone that was anywhere, had someone to rely on, someone to love, someone to cherish them, and like someone to look up to. So, many people have really hard lives and live in dire, straits, but they can lean on people. And I think that's what brought me forward. We can list all of them, but I know that I definitely started off with a good self-confidence, definitely took a few knocks in life. But I worked real hard to instill again that confidence. I see you wanting to interrupt me, but I just want to end this one little thing with, not interrupt. You never interrupt, I interrupt. You're the radio host. But that really, I had God with me. And I knew that from a very, very young age. We followed the path of Chabad. So I had a Rebbe. My parents had a Rebbe. Any question that we had in life, any philosophical issue or any emotional issue, we had the books to follow. We had the Rebbes to follow. We had teachers to follow. And that's huge. Not everyone can say that. And I had that. So that helped me along the way.
I want to recognize what you've just said, the mom safety in Sderot, and everyone that is praying for Israel and for the rest of the world, and everyone that's praying for our hearts at the moment. So I want to just recognize and acknowledge that. I want to also recognize what you've just said about all the things that has happened in your life. And what is really significant? So I'm a stepmom too, right? And it is wonderful. And sometimes it's really hard. But I read a book recently in Afrikaans. It's called Seun Sonder Pa's. It's a book that talks about children who don't have fathers. And it talks about the strong dependency that every single mom or even any person has. We have an opportunity to seek mentorship. And you just mentioned how in your life, it wasn't just, I know that your father played a very, very big role in your life, and may you have a very long life for that. But I know that there's so many people around you that have helped you to build that confidence. And immediately I think of mentorship, the same way that this book describes it, the same way that I look at your own life and all these people that believed in you when maybe you didn't believe in yourself as much. How important is mentorship when it comes to our confidence and to take us from where we are, maybe feeling really small, hurt, bitter, alone, to where we really want to be, whether it is in faith in God or even in business?
Okay, so I was going to touch on the faith in God, because we can have many mentors, but if our guidance counselor is not leaning towards spirituality, if I'm a Jew, I was born with like a godly soul. So everyone's born with a godly soul. And as a Jew, there's like an extra soul that we get. And so like, I'm constantly inside, there's like this battle. Do I want to, kind of be chill, or do I want to actually activate my Jewish soul and be closer to God? And I know that when I activate and I am feeling closer to God through prayer, through acts of goodness and kindness, which everyone can do, that's when I'm really feeling this confidence. And we talk about this, like you want to have a mentor, start with God, because God created the world and God didn't really need anything because he's a God. So what are we doing here? Which means he created us because he needs something from us. Now, if we were to use the word need, let's say, then he's not really a God, because if he were to need me, then he's not a God. A God is someone that doesn't need anything. But because he loves us so much, he really wants us to be connected to him and have a relationship. And so this is the relationship, this mentorship that we can count on at any time. And if I am leaning on my God, then I have confidence. And without it, I'm kind of shutting up that pipeline of like that godly light coming down into me. And I think we all know when we do that, like when we're like, I don't know what your vice is, but when we're all not in a good mental place or physical space, we know where we're cutting out the people that are loving us, helping us, and guiding us. And this is where we have to say, like, if I'm here now, there's a reason that I need to be here. And this is what God wants for me, because he didn't really need me. So if I'm alive right now, I have a mission. So what is my mission? Viktor Frankl, like, I love Viktor Frankl. And unfortunately, I only heard about Viktor Frankl when my own daughter passed away, and she was 3. And that's a sad story. And but Viktor Frankl's book really helped me. So I had like a library of Chabad Hasidut guiding me through mourning and grief. And then I had, but like, what do the other regular people say? If they're not religious, are they thinking the same things? And you know that it's all one. It's all the same thing. And Viktor Frankl, he says, anyone that has a why will figure out their how. If I have a why, like, why do I want to live? Why am I important? Then I'll figure out how to do that, how to be that person. And that's what really guided me along. And that's what mentors are for. And that's where we get our confidence from, because otherwise you don't think you're good enough to, navigate this world on your own.
Well, if you just joined in, you heard it, confidence and instilling it in yourself and also your family. We just talked about mentorship, and yes, you heard it. The biggest mentor of the world and of our lives should be God. So we need to get plugged in. So are you saying that if we're alive, I wake up in the morning and some of us jump out and drink a cup of coffee, others shout at the cat, others will say More Ani, however you do this, that we are worthy of a job in life that nobody else is designed to do?
That's exactly. Ilana, can you be on this side of the interview? So, God created the world. It's just very exciting for me because it's very timely, and just living life is always timely. And we really are about to re-receive the Torah, just on Sunday night and Monday in Israel. I know you guys also have Tuesday over there, but like, this is what the Torah was created for. God created a world. He wanted to home down with his people. He wanted to have a relationship with us. And when we have this Torah and when we have this guidance, we're really just, I don't know how to say it. I feel like I want to answer your question correctly. Do you want to say it one more time?
So first of all, you are definitely on the right path, because I can hear your heart tonight. And that's why I didn't even ask all the other questions. I went straight for like, how can we apply this in life, So I'm saying it's the why. It's the why was I born, Okay. It's the why did I wake up again?
Yes.
If I really woke up again in a pandemic, if I really woke up again in Jerusalem, if I really woke up again in Israel, if I really woke up again with debt, if I really woke up again and my child didn't come back, if I really woke up again and we still have COVID in our house, the whys,
so, yes,
all those whys.
All those whys. So really it's simple, and it's because we have a God-given mission. If, like you say, if we woke up in the morning and some people yell at their cats and some people say Modani, there's a reason why I need to be there that day. And, the second that we're not here, we have no mission. But if we are alive, we have a mission, and that's what we have to tap into. So if God created the world, and it says on the first day he created light, there was nothing else before. So what did we need the light for? And it says that the light was actually the hidden light in the Torah. And Rashi comes and he explains that he took the light and he put it in the Torah, and there's a stream of light that still comes out into every creation. And so by us living life, by me waking up in the morning and saying, I have a purpose, I'm actually revealing that ray of light that God created in me, in whatever I do that day, and whatever I eat, if I say a blessing over it, and whatever goodness I appreciate in other people. And this is purpose. Like, if you're like, you know, I want to use my dad. He did pass away 4 years ago, and I know he's proud upstairs. He was proud below, and he's certainly proud up there. But he used to be like, I'm not dead yet. And he talks crazy because he really was making a point. Yeah. Also, he wagged his finger a couple times to us, but it was like, I'm not dead yet. Like, understand that we have big things to do. We have big people to look up to. You know, his whole mantra was, well, one of his mantras, it's not about you. If it's not about you, then you can do it. If it's not for you, if nothing is for you, right? We don't want to crush ourselves, but if it's not about me, why can't I get on Rabbi Masinter's webinar, even though it's humiliating that I say, can you repeat the question? Let's be realistic, but only Rabbi Masinter would put me on the spot like that. But you know, like, he's doing, because it's not about him. He knows that godliness needs to be spread around the world. He calls Alana and he says, Alana, you're on. And I know, you know, he's meeting you. He's constantly directing and delegating. We all need to keep busy. We all need to keep bringing godliness into this world. And that's the light that was created on the first day, because we have a mission. My mission is the Hindle light. Like, I got a Hindle light. And if it's not shining, I'm in a really sad place. People that are depressed are not shining their light, and that feels awful. So you got to find that light. And if you woke up, you have it. Like, you have it. You might need someone to tell you, like, get up, you have your light. And it's really about godliness. Like, we know we feel better when we do something for somebody else, or we recognize the good in somebody else. All of a sudden we're standing a little taller. It feels a little good. We might even get the lipstick on, you know. So we know when we need to step up like that.
I mean, you just spoke to a whole lot of things. The sadness that people feel that don't want to get out of bed because depression is real. Some people have never spoken about mental health other than in lockdown and out of this pandemic, because we never needed to talk about our mental health and how we're feeling. And you just took it straight to our creator and went, listen, okay, so forget everything and just remember that you were created and therefore you have purpose already. Like, just the fact that you opened your eyes and that you were born. Simon Jacobson writes this book, and he talks about the meaning of life. And it's at some stage, I'll just tell you the personal story. So I have a family member who's sometimes very sad. And the one day he said to me, and I'm laughing. The only reason I'm laughing is because I think the question was so ridiculous, right? So he said something like, why was I even born? And I was like, oh, please don't be dramatic. You know, we were all born for a reason. So but I can laugh at it because I see how realistic and how purposeful it is to be born, and to know that you can have the confidence to know that your creator made you for a reason. There's a big reason. And you explained it so beautifully by saying that there's light in all of us, that there is light, even if you can't see it. And so it brings me to my next question. I mean, how does someone know that they lack confidence and it's something that they need to work on? What if someone's watching tonight and they're going, ugh, you know, like, what are you even talking about?
Wait,
I don't need confidence.
My confidence is saying they're not. But of course they are. You know, I think those people, because I have a healthy dose of confidence, because I try as much as I can to, you know, do good. I know I have very loyal and loving friends. And I mean, those people, I feel like they really need to speak to somebody. We talked about the mentorship. I think they're stuck somewhere, and it's not even their fault. I think social media today dictates so much of, I mean, I know that you probably covered that 10 times already, and we can do it another 10 times, but social media dictates horrible personality defects in people. And they feel like they can never keep up, or they're not pretty enough, or they're not good enough. And, you know, and you can't keep away from it because it's your reality. And so you're always on it. And anyone who thinks like, oh, that's what she can say, like, unless you actually need medication for depression, like, you should be able to do things, you know, little things, and then bigger things and bigger things. And if you remember that it's not about you, like, you can always help someone else, right? You're not going to say no. So why can't you help yourself? I'm a big talker. I try and practice this, but for the most part, I know how to talk to myself. And I mean, I'm really blessed. I'm surrounded by a loving family, and, you know, between siblings and my husband and children, you know, I'm lucky. But If you're not lucky and you're listening tonight, go meet people. Go meet people that love you just because you're special, not because you can give them something.
I love what you have just said. Out of everything, I'm so serious. So I listened to a podcast the other day. I listened to the podcast that you were interviewed on. So it's you Tanya, have to look for it.
Yes, yeah. Tanya Sazanov. She's wonderful. And she has, I'm going to plug it, the Tanya Project. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but she's the one that got me to do all this research.
You see, no, you can plug it as many times as you want to. So Hindel Swedlove, just Google her and then read everything about her, but find the podcast. But the other day I was listening to a podcast that talked about people's worth, right? Like sometimes we think our worth, sometimes we think our confidence lies in who we associate ourselves with people, right? And it tells a story of this woman that felt that she had something to give, and she was surrounding herself with all these friends, and she would compliment them the whole time, yet they would never make her part of their clique. And then eventually she was like, oh, this is too much hard work. And she just focused on what she thought she was good at. And she started this group of people that does positive things, and all those friends left. And she was like, I was never part of their clique, and now I've done something good and now they've left. And it's that notion where you go surround yourself with people who love you, not just people who want you because you can give something to them, you know?
Right. Yes. You bring to mind this whole idea, because very often we do allow ourselves to associate with people that dictate the norm for us or dictate social atmosphere for us. And it's not okay. And just because we're coming up to the holiday, and I told you, cut me out when you want, because I've been teaching this, but we really are coming up to Shavuot, where we receive the Torah. And Rabbi Dover Pinson gives a great 7-minute class on this. So Google him. And he says there's like a concept of I must, I am able, and I must. And the first must is like, I must do something because society dictates. I must do something because I feel I have to, because people are watching, or it's my reputation. But then he says, I'm able to do something. So I go from I must to, oh, but I'm able. So this is something I want to do. I'm able to do this. And then he says, there's a third I must. Once you're able to do something and you're incorporating it into your life, and it's something so positive and godly, you almost can't live without it. So then you must, but not because anyone else said so, but because you're able to, you allow yourself to, you honor yourself to, and then it's like, now this is what I need. And of course, he's bringing this to godliness and God hanging the mountain over the head, because we already said, yeah, we'll be your chosen nation. We'll accept the Torah. So why did God hang the mountain over our head? To hear it again? And the answer is because he wanted to let us know metaphorically, once you say yes, you almost can't live without this. This is gold for you. This is godliness, and this is spirituality, and this will be your driving light in life. So whether you keep the 613 or you keep the 7 Noahide laws, we need to be plugged in to godliness. We need to have God as an awareness, a godly consciousness, and always remember that this is what we can draw on when we need for confidence.
It's unreal how you just made the connection between and I think this is for me in my head, between accepting something, saying yes to Torah, or saying yes to beautiful written words, or saying yes to the Bible, depending on what you believe in, and how a little bit, if you say yes to it, there's no going back, right? So one of the other ladies that we've had on some of our webinars that we've had on Thursdays is a lady called Laurie Milner, and she talks about micro wins in business. So a micro win is I decide I'm going to run a marathon, right? And I've never run it in my life, but I'm going to do sit-ups. And instead of doing 100 sit-ups, the only sit-ups that I do is I do 2. So I get out of bed and then I'll do 2 sit-ups and I go, yes, I did 2 sit-ups. But here's the thing, the thing with a micro win is you never go, okay, but I've done 2 and tomorrow I'm going to do only 1.
Right.
Tomorrow you want to do 4. And then 6, and then 8, and then 10, and then
I love it.
Exactly. So if you're going to take on this light or these words, or even the Torah with Shavuos coming up, then you want to do more. You know, you want to, and you're right. It's like when you inspire me so much, man. It's like when everything else, it's like when everything else fails, and you need to fall back on something. What is that one thing that you're going to fall back on that's going to keep you confident, right?
Right.
It can't be the people in your clique, because sometimes they're not going to be there. And it can't be money, because in lockdown and in COVID-19, we saw how money can just disappear, actually.
Yes. Yes.
So we need something that's a little bit more longevity.
Yep. Yeah. And that's in ourselves. I'm laughing about the marathon stuff because, Yessie and I were a full 20, 30 pounds extra. And then we decided we have a library and we need to fundraise for the library that we made in memory of our daughter, Shula. And it's called Shula's Library here in Jerusalem. And we saw, the Americans actually give a lot of tzedakah. And how are we going to get that money out? So
the marathon.
Like marathons. Yeah. So Yessie and I ran half marathons. And we did the half marathon in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem. We dropped all our weight. Time to do a marathon again after Corona. But meanwhile, and I will get there, Alana, and come back and tell you that I did it. Please, God. But yeah, that took a lot of confidence because, we couldn't run a minute and you have to build up. You're running for like 2 hours. So we did that. And that really also comes from, I knew that, again, it wasn't about me. And if it's about Shula and it's about my family, and it's about us being in a really good, happy, healthy space. Every run was magical. Every run I waited to do an extra 5 minutes. Like when I hit 10 kilometers, we were like heroes. That's really how we should feel.
There must be. And there's so many definitions about confidence. And before our chat tonight, I looked at it. I thought to myself, what's that one thing that I'm sure of? Why when I go on radio, I'm nervous, but excited, but I'm confident to do so? Or why are you able to sit all the way in Jerusalem, being able to speak on a webinar with lots of people from around the world watching you? And one of the definitions says feeling or the belief that one can have faith in or rely on something.
Ooh.
And
yeah.
And but here's the thing. What if you wake up and you don't have, so the opposite would be to not have the feeling or believe or the faith to rely on something or someone? What if someone's watching tonight and they have that feeling? How do we help them?
I think we touched on this a little bit before, but, flipping that over to the more positive side is like, you can always reach up to, I once had this girl at my table and it was Shabbos and we had just washed for the challah, and we don't talk in between the washing and the eating of the challah till we make the bracha. And she was like, can I just say something? And the whole table's quiet and I'm not going to say no. I'm like, uh-huh. And she just said, before you praise God for the bread, I want to praise God for the black matter in the world. And I'm like, okay, so we made the challah, we ate. And she said, I don't believe in God, but I believe in a higher power. And I was like, okay, whatever your higher power is, just make the blessing on the bread because someone made it, And it turns out she was battling religion at the time. And she talked about her higher power. So I don't care what your higher power is, but you have to have a higher power. But because I come from where I come from, your higher power has to be God. If it's not God, it's not substantial. It will not last. It is not infinite. And therefore, the infinity will never be coming down into your finite self. You block it. I'm getting heated up here. I'm going to calm down. I'm remembering the story. I want to tell you that she told me at the end of Shabbos, that was her most beautiful Shabbos she ever had. And I was like, oh my, I couldn't even believe it. Cause we're like hardcore religious Orthodox, She loved the authenticity of a family around the Shabbos table, giving holiness and appreciating the holiness of what God has to offer. I have a purpose in my life. She was wandering around aimlessly looking for black matter. I had purpose. She was looking for purpose. Yeah. And I think that, I don't even think we should let people get away with, if they ask me, obviously, I'm not going to just put out newspaper articles, but I should actually. When you are negative and you are down and you can't, and you're looking for something that gives you confidence and you have to look up to something, that is your God. And if you have confidence in God, if you have faith in your God, then you have confidence in yourself, because then you know that there's someone else running the world and you don't have to. You're just a wonderful pawn in the game of life. And so don't take it so seriously. Like, again, it's not all about you. What can you do today for you, for your people around you? Because someone else is running the show. We'll only know at the end of our lives how this all played out. So for today, what can I do to be my best self? You want to call it your higher power? How can I tap into my higher power today? And really every moment we should be asking this question. What's our mission statement? What am I here for? Why am I important? Why should someone love me? Do I love other people just because I should, because they're human?
It's such wonderful questions. And one of the other ones I want to add is, what do I want? You know?
Ooh. Oh, go get help, go get therapy, because it's a hard one. It's a hard one to come up with. It's true. It's a daily question. What do I want? What do I want from my life?
Yeah. I love if you have faith in God, then you will have confidence in yourself.
Yes.
I'm also thinking of your Shabbos table. I mean, if she asked me if she could say something, I would have said no. So, but you had a lot of confidence.
Jerusalem, Jerusalem is an eclectic place. We get a lot of Chabad rabbis from around the world send their guests to us, and we're like, whoa, okay. Interesting.
I was one of those guests more than 15 years ago.
I wish you were at my table.
I wish that too. I want to ask you about, and I wasn't going to, but I think our audience might need some of it. Okay. And I'll never forget. And I'll tell you why I'm going to ask you this. So I was at the funeral of a young man, and he was a friend of ours. His name was Herschel. And as we were at his funeral, his father said, there is nothing as painful as outliving your child. And I'm talking about something that happened more than 15 years ago. And I only understood it once I had my own children. And the only death I've ever experienced has been an aunt and people that were close to me, but never a child. And I can't think of anything more awful. And I didn't know that about you before we started our webinar until I stumbled upon, I Googled your name and all these amazing stories came up. And you and another lady were motivating people through conversation, just like we are tonight, and hopefully helping someone who's watching. That was a time where God and eventually your confidence helped you. May you have long life as you're honoring your daughter through this webinar as well.
Thank you.
Tell me about the writing course.
First of all, I want to give my friend Hadassah credit. She has a Real Talk with Hadassah where she interviews people and she gets into the kishkis, you know, she wants there to be a big godliness awareness in the world today. And she's doing really good things. You know, I want to deflect for a second because that's easier for me to what just happened in Miron. The 45 men that were crushed, unfortunately, the crowd crush. And one of the fathers said at the funeral, I mean, it's just heartbreaking that his 21, I don't want to get the age wrong, but he had a teen son, either teen or 21. And he said, like, I know that this is good because God is good. Mm-hmm. And if God is good, then anything he does is good. And more than that, not only anything he does is good, he does it for my good. It's for me. It's for me. And it's good for me. And of course, like in the depths of despair, how does one say that? But this is again where I bring in the Israeli confidence. Like there's a lot of trauma here in this country. And to witness this man say that he lost his son in the most beautiful way, if he was going to lose him anyways, because he said, I would have lost him anyway. So I could have lost him in a car accident. I could have lost him to an illness, God forbid. But I lost him at the gravesite of the Rashbi, on the Rashbi's yard site, on Lag BaOmer, when Rabbi Akiva, all his students stopped dying. I mean, they had just finished saying the Shema out loud with, I don't know how many thousands of Jews. You know, to give your soul like that, he saw the beauty and the godliness in the death. And I am blessed. I almost feel like privileged that I was able to see it at that moment too, when my daughter passed away, because it's not a usual place you go to in the moment of intense trauma. But I wonder if it's not. Like, I'm verbal, so I spoke about it, I write about it, but I know you asked me about the writing course, but for me to be in the moment, it could have only been God. Like, this was not meant to happen. I didn't sign up for this. You know, it was just the dynamics of the details. It was, you know, someone else was supposed to be taking the school bus that day. He got sick, got someone else to drive. It was supposed to be 20 minutes later. She was supposed to get off at a friend's house. I was supposed to be downstairs, not the other child that was downstairs picking her up. There were so many, like, this was not meant to happen. We had just gotten off, we had just moved 10 months before, after 11 years of being on a 6-lane highway. That was our boulevard where we lived in an apartment, to the sweet little street of like an alley where no two cars can pass at the same time. So it was in a flash, thank God, I realized this has nothing to do with like anything with me. This is pure God. I didn't do this. I didn't create this. It's not my fault. I didn't get punished. Like, who thinks like that? No one should ever have to think like that. No one's getting punished. We're all good people. We can be better, sure, but we're not getting punished. It's actually because I'm so good. Now, I know my big brothers are going to laugh at me because they laughed at the Schwartz confidence, they call it. Like, yeah, I'm good. I'm a really good person. I have so much more to go, but I didn't get punished. So that's because I have confidence in God, I have self-confidence. And at that moment, that was my gift, to realize this is not me. Now I'm going to have to play the part of going into like, oh, I guess I must be really great. And now I got to work it. And it's been work. Yessie and I, my husband and I, we have to work to be Shula's mother and father. And we bring that into our daily life. In a healthy way. We check in with a therapist. So we're all healthy and happy and still plugged into God. And I don't see how anyone could actually experience any sort of tragedy or any sort of challenge, which everybody has all the time. Whatever your challenge is, you know, your chipped nail, not you, Alana, but the chipped nail is someone else's, God forbid, death or losing 1 million accounts, you know, in business. Okay, one account, you know, everybody's got it. So without the faith in God, where is your confidence to step up and work it and live life in a really nice way after? Anyway.
And then there was a writing course right after that.
No, it's painful because it's such a crazy thing, but I will tell you about the writing course.
No, you don't even need to, because you've told me about your daughter and you've told me how to rely on God in every situation. Because here's the thing, there's a lot happening in all of our lives, and you're inspiring so many people by just reminding us to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
I've had a busy day too.
I will tell you about the writing course only because what happened was about, you know, my time frame in the first 3 years after Shula passed is like, I don't know, really quite non-existent. So at some point, it might have been a year, it might have been 2 years, I don't know. I took this writing course, and because I like to write, and I thought, okay, it would distract me. And once a week, I left for like 2.5 hours. Anyways, we were told this project, 20 minutes, write a moment in time. And I wrote this moment about Shula passing away. And I wrote it with beauty. You know, I was proud of my writing skills. It like almost had nothing to do with the content, which of course was all about the content. But I was like, we had to do quotes and we had to do a new paragraph and bring in the emotion and set a stage. And I did all that. I thought it was great. And I read this piece on Shula passing away that moment, and the class literally laughed. Now they knew me because I was in it already for about 6 months. And I'm like, why are you laughing? You know, this is real. They couldn't fathom that something so tragic can happen and your confidence be so intact because it's connected to God in every which way, that you would see it as defined as something beautiful and godly and a spiritual moment in time. And that's what was crazy, that the laughter made me understand that this type of my faith in God, people don't have that confidence in themselves because they don't have that faith in God. And that's a gift I was brought up with. And that's a gift that, you know, I cultivated through learning and studying. And, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, all of his teachings are so positive. You cannot possibly read it and think you're getting punished for anything that happens in your life. You just have to ask yourself the bigger question. If it happened to me, why did it happen to me? What can I do about it that will affect other people because it happened to me? And so you live your life differently because you know the right questions to ask. And that's the writing course that happened. And by the way, I was like done. After that, I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't need writing anymore. I'm good. And then I took to writing to my poor siblings, and they had to read everything and all that. But it helped me. It helped me tremendously.
You've said so much tonight that not just inspired us, but it's almost a renewal, and so significantly so before the South African third wave, and before Shabbat, and before people step into the weekend, or before people step into another Shabbos. And I don't think after this webinar, it will just be ordinary. I think it will be extraordinary, because we've got a lot of food for thought. I want to also thank you for opening your heart and for sharing your personal stories with us, because it is admirable to see how you rely on God, and how that is the center of your life, and how that's the start of your confidence. I think it's wonderful. Hey, Rivka. She says, amen, amen, amen. Yay.
Oh, sweet.
Thank you, guys. So, hey, if you're watching this live or not, perhaps you're watching this afterwards, we'd love to see your comments. Share this video to someone who needs it most. This was a chat about confidence, but this was also a chat as a reminder as to why we were born, a reminder of our confidence in God, and also a reminder about the must and the able and the must. A chat about our faith in God and your confidence in yourself. Give it up for Hindle.
So sweet. Thank you.
I wish we had an audience. That's where they would have gone.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
There's some comments. Should I read them? Sure. I'm going to read some comments. Olivia says, fabulous.
Oh, that's my mom. That's my mom. Of course she says fabulous. See?
Hi. In South Africa, we call everyone auntie. Hi, Auntie Olivia.
That's great.
Beautiful. Thank you for the most inspiring food for thought. Thanks, Karen. Miriam says inspirational. Thank you so much to all of your comments. Really? Do you want to say hi to everyone?
Oh, let me open up. I haven't opened up because I just wanted to focus on you. Oh, I lost.
You were wonderful also, your mom says. Thank you so much.
You really were, Alana. I want to thank you for your faith in taking me on and interviewing me, because that's sweet and that's kind.
Should I tell you something about these conversations that we have on a Thursday?
Yeah.
In lockdown,
I have watched a few.
No, but I asked myself, maybe I asked God, who knows? I asked, how will I give back during lockdown, and what will I do? And I sound like I'm going to do the void for this coming weekend. I will hear and I will do. But
yes, that's right.
But Rabbi Masinda said, don't be a thief. Use your talent, because he believes that
it's not about you.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not about you.
Go ahead.
It's about everyone else. So here I am.
Wow.
Kaya, this is the end of our chat. Hindle and I could talk for hours.
Yes. Such fun.
There's so many comments coming through. Hi, guys from Laguna Beach. Melissa, hi. Thank you for inviting me.
Sweet. Yes.
Evelyn says, inspiring food of reflection. It was, Evelyn. I agree with you. It was really amazing. Hey, you should also say hi to your mother-in-law for me, please.
I will. I know she's been your guest.
She's been my guest. She taught me about being the essence in my home, how to be the diffuser of the home. What a beautiful word, right? Like you can help your home smell nice by our actions. So many positive comments coming through. Hindle, may you have a wonderful evening. May you have a meaningful and joyous Shavuos, and good Shabbos, and Chag Sameach.
Thank you so much, Alana. Thank you, Chaya.
Really beautiful. Hindle, well done. Outstanding.
Thank you, Chaya. Oh, I like that part. By the way, Chaya and
it's
Alana,
a round of applause.
I'm wearing this that I got in South Africa last week when I was there.
Oh, wow. Very nice, very pretty.
I just feel like I channeled the energy. So thanks to you guys.
You certainly
look amazing.
Appreciate it. Laila Tov, and much love from Jerusalem. And we're really thinking about all of you outside the world as well.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.